Well, your Detroit Tigers are now 20 games over 500.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Welcome in, welcome all. Happy Wednesday, everybody. The Detroit Tigers win a 5-3 over the Baltimore Orioles on Tuesday night to kick off this three-game series in Baltimore. The Tigers move to 44-24 on the season. That is a whopping and outstanding 20 games over 500. I tweeted this out, so I'm just regurgitating something I've already posted if you follow me on social media. But the last time the Tigers were exactly 20 games over 500 was September 9th, 2013. It has been 12 years since the Tigers were 20 games over 500 or better. And that 2013 team ended the year 93-69. And obviously, we know what happened in the ALCS to Boston, but was arguably the best roster in baseball. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So, my first thought is just what a win that was. I know the scoreboard ended up being, a two-run game, which you look at from an outsider's perspective. If you didn't watch the game, maybe, and you're just kind of box score watching or whatever. Your job dictates it. You had to go to bed and whatnot, whatever. First off, I appreciate you for tuning in if that's your situation. Shout out to everybody out there who keeps up with the Tigers in that capacity. But I think that watching this game, the Tigers were in complete control and commanded this entire ball game. I think it's far different than what maybe the final score will make it seem to be like. It was 5-1 at one point. They gave up a run in the eighth, a run in the ninth. Solo shots. Nobody was really occupying the bases for the Orioles most of this ball game, outside of, I guess, a little bit in the eighth inning. I thought the Tigers were comfortably the better team on the field for 9 innings. So what went right? We got to start with the pitching, because the pitching was absolutely fantastic, as we have become just so accustomed to saying overall this season. This was kind of a pitching chaos-esque game. It started with Brant Herter, who went 3 2/3, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, and 3 strikeouts. His ERA on the season is now 1.75, and he's throwing multiple innings almost every single time he goes out there. This one was hilarious because I don't think the original plan was for him to go almost 4 innings. I think that this was a case of, in the broadcast, to their credit, this was an instance where the Orioles are just so bad against lefties. And that's what I was saying, got ADHD moment. The broadcast did a great job of highlighting and pointing out the Orioles statistics as a team against left-handed pitching. They have the lowest OPS in all of baseball against left-handed pitching. So, Brant Herter, it was supposed to be, okay, Herter will be an opener. He'll go maybe one time through the lineup, and then Sawyer Gipson-Long will get the bulk. And while Gipson-Long, SGL technically does get the bulk, he threw the most innings out of anybody on the team, Brant Herter almost goes 4 innings because he was just mowing everybody down. Uncompetitive at-bats for the most part until the very end there when he ended up giving up the run. He is so good against left-handed hitting. has a sinker and sweeper combination that is just, I don't want to say impossible to hit, but it is very, very difficult to square up as a left-handed hitter. And so I think, honestly, I almost wonder, it ended up working out fine. And Sawyer Gipson-Long looked fantastic. We'll talk about him in a second, but I almost wonder if Hinch is sitting there in like the fourth inning and he's like, dang, I almost wish I told Herder to prepare for like a full start and we could just see how long he could go, because I don't know, man, like that's how in control he really was. Now, again, toward the end of the outing, he did give up a hit and eventually a run there. So no one, AJ Hinch knows what he's doing, shocker, and made the right call and pulled the right strings. And Sawyer Gipson-Long was fantastic. But I cannot say enough good things about Brant Herder's 2025 so far. Chase Lee comes in for one batter, gets a strikeout. There you go. You know, it's interesting seeing him and Sawyer Gipson-Long both warm up in the pen at the same time, because you're kind of like, okay, well, we know that they want SGL to get the bulk. I also don't think that they want SGL to enter the game with runners on base. So I think that was a brilliant preparedness by AJ Hinch to be like, you know what, we need somebody up just in case there's a righty, because if it's a lefty up, then we're just going to leave Herder out there. We need somebody up in case there's a righty up later in the inning when there's one or two outs and there's runners on base, that we can guarantee, A, we get out of this inning, but also B, we guarantee that SGL starts an inning off and is not entering an outing with runners on base or in scoring position. So I thought that was brilliant managing, as AJ does. And then Sawyer Gipson-Long, we'll finally talk about him. I've said his name about 50 times and I've yet to talk about his actual outing. 4 2/3, 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walk, 5 strikeouts. I thought he was absolutely effing incredible. I really do. And obviously, this isn't like the sexiest final line on the planet. I don't care. His stuff looked unbelievable. His changeup, I would say that he had or has the best changeup in the organization. Unfortunately, Tarek Skubal exists and is a Detroit Tiger, so that's probably not that's probably overreactionary of me to say. But that thing was diabolical. And the thing that makes me so happy about that is that was his best secondary pitch before the injury, right? Back in September of 2023, we were talking on this show and a lot of the media was talking about how good his changeup was. So for him to go through all of the rehab, not pitch, it's been whatever, 600 plus days since he's thrown a major league pitch. Well, it was before his first outing. This is his second. And then for him to come back and have the stuff look as sharp as it did, fastball 96, almost pushing 97 miles an hour at one point, and for that changeup to still be as gross and effective as it was then, is just beautiful. And then on top of that, you have the addition. I mean, he was throwing it a little bit before the injury, but it didn't look like that. The cutter that he threw in this outing was the best cutter I've ever seen him throw. It was basically just a mini slider more so than it was a true cutter. He was super efficient on top of that. This is the type of outing that you get really excited about because it is only his second outing back from, again, over 600 days of not playing Major League Baseball. So long injury to come back, not a super long rehab stint either. And relatively speaking, that is, you know, how long he was out. And for him to look the way he did in this one, I thought was great. And then, you know, if you're just looking at metrics and whatnot, the velocity was way up from the first outing. So that's obviously a really good sign as well. So just incredible, absolutely incredible. Velo up, spin up, you know, everything looked great. He was in the strike zone the entire outing, did not allow a walk. And that's obviously a big thing for the organization, but he was so efficient. And I think that's probably my favorite part of the outing. So yeah, like that is a guy that, if I sound like Chris Collinsworth, this is a guy that if he looks like that, if that is how his stuff is going to play at the major league level and look at the major league level, this guy is in a major league rotation long term. This guy is a major league starter. There is no ifs or maybes. The only if is, what we saw on Tuesday night is the consistent look of what his stuff is going to be going forward? And if the answer is yes, then he is absolutely a starting major league pitcher. Unbelievable outing. Let's talk about the bullpen, then we'll talk offense. Okay, 5 runs and 12 hits, couple of walks in there. Not a bad day at the office. We'll talk about all that and more right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered where did all of my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO gives you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app either. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop managing your money and truly start building your wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on really a lot of unnecessary stuff, food delivery, etc. Now I budget smarter and I save way more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKDOWNMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKDOWNMLB for half off of your first year. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. And we will, of course, be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 against the Baltimore Orioles. Today, though, we talk about Game 1, where the Tigers won 5-3 in Camden Yards. Great ballpark, by the way. Absolutely beautiful. So let's talk about the bullpen. We talked about who made up the bulk of the innings, obviously with Chase Lee thrown in there, who only got literally 1 out and 1 batter faced, but shout out, you did your job. Tommy Kahnle and Will Vest closed the door. Kahnle records 1 out, gives up 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He has a 1.24 ERA. And then Will Vest does give up the home run, just throws a sinker low and into a righty. Pretty much the only way you're hitting that ball that far inside, that far. Did I already say that? I don't know. That sentence got away from me. Is if you're just kind of sitting on it. Clearly he was. And I mean, look, he was bound to give up a home run at some point this season, believe it or not. He wasn't going to go the entire year with, barely giving up any hard contact, period, not giving up any long balls. I'm just glad that it happened in a 5-2, ended up being 5-3 ball game than, it happening in a tie game or a 1-run game. I will much rather take the situation that we got over something else. So, bullpen did its job. And Tommy Kahnle continues to just be this complete anomaly that can just throw a billion changeups and get out of like any situation really at all. I don't know. He's hilarious to me is really the word I want to use. He's absolutely hilarious. I love him to death. Offensively, 12 hits, 1 walk, 5 runs. Pretty good day at the office. We'll start with Spencer Torkelson, 1 for 4 with 2 RBI, no walks, and 2 strikeouts. It's funny, before that at-bat, and even in that at-bat, actually, before the home run swing, I actually was thinking that he was late on a lot of fastballs tonight. And I was like, man, he just looks like behind on heaters. And like he'll adjust and he'll be fine, but like that seems to be an issue tonight. And then it wasn't, right? It was until it wasn't. And, he didn't get high velocity, inside or anything, but it was, that's low mid 90s inside. And he absolutely turns and burns it to dead center field for 420 feet. That's 16 home runs, putting him, in a lot of the graphics that you see around baseball and media. It's like, oh, here are the home run leaders. He's not at the top. He's not in the top 5, but like if you do a full graphic and you're like, oh, here's the 10 or 12 home run leaders of baseball or whatnot, you're going to see Torkelson's face, and that's pretty darn cool. He's just been such a treat this year, man. This has been such an awesome. He's got an 850 OPS at the time of this recording. That is so much better than I ever would have imagined going into this season. I will not stop talking about how great of a storyline it is, how happy I am for him, how much, how impressive it is for him with all the scrutiny and whatnot that he received in the first 2 or 3 years to have a season like this. I really just couldn't be happier for him. And he's crushed lefties all year. I think he has an OPS over 1,000 against lefties on the season. So you want runners on base and you want him getting at bats. And that is what you saw in what inning was that? The 5th inning with his home run. Winfield Perez, 2 for 3 with an RBI. So the reason why I'm actually so excited about Winfield Perez and his performance in this game is because he was doing damage as a right-handed hitter. I have called him out time and time again, just have absolutely refused to let this go, that he's a switch hitter, that last year and really dating back to a little bit, just a switch hitter that doesn't hit lefties. Okay, well then you're barely a switch hitter to me. He starts against a left-handed pitcher. AJ knows what he's doing yet again. And he not only gets a sac fly to score a run in his first at-bat as a right-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher, then a couple innings later, he gets a double off the left field wall in Camden, which now, I mean, it's been moved like 12 times. They have no clue what they're doing over there, but that's, deep. That's not for nothing. That's a pretty deep shot to left field. And for him to do that and then also have a hit from the right side is just so awesome. And that's the perks of having a talented switch hitter on your roster. And hopefully that is a sign of things to come, because if he can hit, he doesn't even need to be as good as a right-handed hitter as he is a left-handed hitter. If he can even be just average, if he can be even slightly below average as a right-handed hitter, he's going to increase his value just significantly. So that was really cool to see. I thought that was an absolutely perfect evening for him. Really big deal. Riley Greene goes 2 for 4 with a walk and a strikeout. So the at-bat to Cano there later, he was late on like every fastball that Cano threw, but everything else that was thrown at him this game, I thought he was all over, which I think is important. And the walk is really good to see too, obviously. I just think his swing decisions in this game, which pitches to swing at, which to spit on, were really solid in this ballgame. That's not something, I mean, he even had the strikeout in this one. Like I said, he was swinging at fastballs over the heart of the plate. He was just late on him. I think that he was making really good decisions in this ballgame, and I think that is worth something as we try to, I mean, he's had a great year. He's getting all-star votes. He's had a fantastic season. It's just, everybody wants him to cut down on the strikeouts a little bit and maybe become a little bit more consistent. And I think part of that is having his at-bats look like they did tonight for long periods of time, because this is kind of, the prototype of what you want out of, how his ABs look. Zach McKinstry, kind of a hilarious evening for Zach McKinstry, in the best way possible, goes 2 for 4. So the triples thing is cool. And he is tied for the league lead in triples. He has 7 triples on June 11th. That is wild and super, super cool. I couldn't even tell you the last time I saw a 2 triple game. I'm trying to think of the last, I don't know, somebody out there I'm sure has that information, but just a really cool thing. But I think from a non just like, hey, look how cool this is, type of media perspective, I think it's really telling that this dude started against a left-handed pitcher and thrived, right? It wasn't just like, oh, we're rolling our eyes because Andy Ibanez is hitting third and we know he's not going to get a hit, right? Like it's no, AJ played him against the left-handed starter, and McKinstry came through, and like that is not abnormal for this season. It's abnormal for the first couple of years of his Tigers career. I don't know where this came from or what adjustment he made, but it's clearly a significant one because he has been crushing left-handed pitching this year. And if you would have told me that going into the year, I would have thought you were crazy. So good for Zach McKinstry, continues his incredible season. His OPS is almost back up to 800. It kind of like tailed off after the really hot start. And I came on here and I was like, oh, like he'll probably come back down to earth a little bit. And then over the last 3 weeks, he's been hitting the ball really well again. And we're back up to a 276 average and a 799 OPS for Zach McKinstry in mid-June, people. That is uncomprehendable to my brain in March. And then in the best way possible. And then Javi, fantastic defensively, made a couple of really, really nice plays over at shortstop. We all know my feelings about him. I want him to play shortstop as much as possible here going forward. I think the team is at its best when he is playing shortstop. Obviously a lefty on the mound, so that's why he gets the start. But I think that he just deserves a lot of credit. Like 1 for 4, the offensive numbers have completely plummeted since the hot streak to start the season. That is all true. But the one thing that's been consistent throughout most of his Tigers tenure is that he's gonna put the ball in play, and honestly, a lot of times just straight up come through with runners in scoring position. And he had a nice RBI single in this ballgame. But the biggest thing continues to be the defense for him at shortstop is just such a welcomed addition. Let's talk about what went wrong. Not too much. Okay. We'll talk about that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site that is made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Whether into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, well, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. So join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Third and final segment. That's what I say of Locked On Tigers. Appreciate you all for tuning in. What went wrong? Really not a whole lot. I barely have anything to say. Again, I know that this was a 2-run game, but what I don't know, Gleyber Torres' defense at second wasn't very good, but like he had 2 hits at the plate and he had 1 rough defensive inning that didn't cost the Tigers any runs. I guess if you're looking for some, Parker Meadows I think he was not only the only person in the lineup to not get on base, he was the only person in the starting lineup to not record a hit in this ball game. But I thought he didn't have any strikeouts. He was putting the ball in play. I thought the at-bats were really good. I thought the decision-making was good. And obviously he gives you that plus defense. Like, I don't really care. He hit 9 because the lefty was on the mound, and that's fine. He'll be okay. I think everyone crushed it. Like, again, I know this is only a 2-run game, but the Tigers were pretty clearly the better team, on the field for all 9 innings in my eyes. And I don't think there was ever a moment where the Tigers weren't going to win. Like, I know it sounds really easy to say because they literally did win, but like there was not a single moment in this game where I was worried or that I thought that the Tigers were not in complete control. And that is just something that I will never take for granted because it didn't always used to be like that. Stuff. Parker in the lineup, but batting 9th against a left-handed pitcher, just combine those 2 words. I like that a lot. And I think that until, last year, I think he got to a point where you felt pretty comfortable hitting him lead off against righties and lefties, but just to like get him back in the swing of things. I love this. I think Parker can hit lefties. He proved it, down the stretch last season. And I think that if this is how you want to like ease him back into that this year, I'm totally fine with it. I think he's just so valuable outside of the batter's box that you cannot like strict platoon him. You want him to be playing 162 games if you can help it. And so if this is the way that has to happen, then so be it. And if he starts hitting lefties better as the season goes along, then you can move him up in the lineup. Just like last year. Dylan Dingler hit cleanup in this game, which I think is just absolutely awesome. First time, I think, this year. But it definitely jumped out at me. It goes 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts. We know he's going to have not like astronomically high, but like relatively high strikeout numbers. But been hitting the ball really well, hitting 286 with a 761 OPS on the season. Obviously been doing well and hitting the ball really hard against lefties specifically. So really cool to see him get rewarded for that, and to see a catcher hitting in the heart of the lineup of the the team with the best record in baseball, the best team in baseball. Like, that is just so cool for my catcher loving brain. So shout out Dylan Dingler, man. He's just had such a phenomenal season. Jahmai Jones hits leadoff in this ball game, which I think is telling of where the Tigers think that his offense is at against left-handed pitching as well. Designated hitter. Like you didn't need him in the field, right? I mean, I don't care. I'm fine with that. Riley Greene is obviously you want in left field. You want Parker Meadows in center. And Winfield Perez has been playing a fine right. So if it's really just comes down to who you think is the better defender between Jahmai Jones and Winfield Perez, and if the answer is Perez, then yeah, Jahmai Jones can lead off in DH against left-handed pitching for all I care. It's that was Andy Ibanez was doing that and hitting 2 or 3 against lefties a couple of weeks ago. So if this is kind of just like the new flex player that they can throw in against lefties to help the lineup a little bit, then so be it. Hopefully that works out for him. But too small of a sample size to know. He did go 1 for 4 in this ball game. Yeah, great game. Great game. What else off the field? All-star voting. Be sure you vote for Tigers. That's officially open. If you want to be like the person that's just like, oh, I'm just going to vote for all Tigers, I'm not going to get in your way. That's awesome. The Royals did it, and we had to live through that nonsense, whatever year that was, 2013, 14, 15, whatever. Sure, dude, I go ball out. Okay. But I just think it's really cool that that's not like a joke in this year in terms of like, oh, like no Tigers deserve it, we're going to try to get all the Tigers there. Like, we were the laughing stock of all-star voting for a few years there. And to just be at this point where like, nope, Torkelson's going to get a legitimate look and could make it. Riley Greene is going to get a legitimate look, could make it, did make it last year. Skubal should be the All-Star game starter. I am still furious, like red in the face mad that he for some reason wasn't last year. Corbin Burns, just a ridiculous decision by that coaching staff of the American League last year. I'm still hot about it because that's just so asinine. But like Dylan Dingler, going to be, in consideration for catcher, not starting catcher, because Cal Raleigh's having like one of the best years we've ever seen out of a catcher, as at least he's on pace for it. And so he should be the starter, but Dingler might be the backup catcher. Like there are legitimate options here, and the Tigers should have a actual solid representation in the All-Star game. And that's so cool, because it used to just be like, oh, like who, what lefty reliever that throws hard, or what just reliever period can we just have be the Tigers represented because they're so terrible? Shouldn't be the case anymore. And that's a beautiful thing. Gleyber Torres, I mean, heck, he's, one of the best second basemen in the American League so far. Want to give props to Dan Petrie. That is such a brilliant baseball mind and such a wonderful human being. I know he's kind of like bouncing around. He does some on TV, some on the radio. He's taking more, days off or whatever. Whatever he wants to do is obviously fine by me. I'm not gonna, tell him that I need you on the broadcast every night or whatever. But he is so smart, and hearing his pitching insight is so fantastic. I genuinely cherish it, and I'm always attentive when he is speaking and talking about baseball strategies. He is so kind and so nice and such a brilliant baseball mind. I just want to give some props to 84 Tigers champion Dan Petrie. And then lastly, before we get to the preview of tonight's game, Max Anderson down in the minor leagues hit his 10th homer of the year. This dude is balling out of college a couple of drafts ago. Another guy that in Erie, he's hitting like 340 or something asinine with power. He's got an OPS over 900, playing solid defense, kind of played, second base through college. Was in early pro ball, was playing a lot of second base, but it's kind of, bounced around, played a few different positions in the infield. It's just, this farm system rocks. Like this team is 20 games over 500. They have the best record in all of baseball at the major league level. And they have what's widely considered to be the best prospect pool in baseball in terms of farm system. And guys like Max Anderson are what make that. Any team just drafts high enough for enough years and gets, the top end prospects. It's the guys like that are taken the second, third, fourth round. And Max Anderson was an underslot guy that nobody really thought much of on draft night, and is just absolutely crushed this year in Double-A. He's 23, I want to say, maybe 24, somewhere around there, because he did go to college. But if he finds himself in Triple-A in the second half of this season, then he's knocking on the door of getting to look at a major league team either in September of this year or spring of next year. And it's just, man, what a time to be alive. How lucky are you? How lucky are we? Detroit Tigers are fantastic. They have a great farm system. They have a great major league team. They have a great coaching staff. How lucky are we that we get to be alive right now? Game 2 of this series against the O's will be Zach Eflin against Casey Mize. Interested to see the lineup construction against Eflin here. Hasn't had a very good season, but has been a productive pitcher in years past. Has lost some velocity over the years, so we'll see what AJ and Co's approach is tomorrow. But Casey Mize for the Tigers, his last 2 outings have not been very good. Let's change that, okay? Let's change that against a struggling, spiraling Baltimore Orioles team. There's not too much pressure to win the series. You took game 1. You got Skubal going tomorrow. Just go out there, play your game. And if you win game 2, then you start getting greedy and start talking about a sweep with Tarek Skubal going in game 3. So let's make it happen, baby. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day. We will, of course, be back tomorrow after you make us your first listen. Make Locked On MLB Game Night your second listen, or your last listen of the night, I guess, over at the Locked On MLB YouTube channel. They recap every single game, every single day, all around the league. It is so awesome. A lot of great co-hosts and hosts over there. Do a fantastic job, so be sure to check them out. You'll see my ugly mug on there every once in a while. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch you all tomorrow, baby. Go Tigers.